About 3 years ago, we all watched in horror as the Notre Dame Cathedral started burning, and since then, archaeologists have been surveying the damage to assess and start the restoration process. And here is where it gets interesting. During excavations in early 2022, researchers found two unusual lead sarcophagi dating back centuries. And after some research, scientists have announced their findings. The sarcophagi contain the remains of two wealthy men, one ecclesiastical who may have had gout, also known as the disease of kings, and the other a young noble who seemed to have a hard life. Eric Krubisi, a professor of biological anthropology at the University of Toulouse, who has been studying the remains and who opened the coffin, stated the first subject is identified via an identification plate on his coffin. And that identification plate gave the name of Antoine de la Porte, who died at the age of 83 on December 24th of 1710. De la Porte was discovered to be a member of the clergy responsible for the cathedral and used his wealth to help create Notre Dame's choir, which may explain his burial underneath the central part of the transept in an area reserved for the final resting place of the elite. And it's said his remains were quite well preserved, including his bones, his teeth, his head, even his beard hair, and some of his clothes, and there were 3 medals placed on top of his sarcophagus. With that said, they did notice that his body showed signs of little physical activity, which meant that he likely led a sedentary life. But his big toe, it did show signs of gout, which can be triggered from excessive drinking and excessive eating. The second lead sarcophagus, however, it lacked a nameplate, so he is still unknown. It was given the title Le Cavalier, and they discovered leaves and flowers around his skull and around his abdomen. His skull had been sawn off and his chest opened to be embalmed. They surmised that the second man was between 25 and 40 years at death, and that he showed signs of someone who had been riding horses from a young age. They also found evidence of reactive bone in the man's skull and spine, which leads them to believe that his cause of death may have been chronic meningitis due to tuberculosis, and he also lost all of his teeth in the months and years leading up to his death. Scientists say that identifying Le Cavalier depends on when he died, and he could have died anywhere between the 14th and 18th century. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because the results of the final analysis are supposed to be done between early and mid 2023.